we've
Crazy.
totally gotten off sidetracked. Are we good?
Yeah, we're
Yeah, we're good.
We're good.
It's okay.
What's up,
Let's go.
everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Power Up Gamers. I am here with my friends Maximilian X as well as Denirkun, and we are going to be talking about some spooky games today. Yay!
It's the season.
It is the season, my friends. The season for scary games. Because
Yes.
the Eve of Hallows approaches us. You know, the people are wondering. Have horror games made it into your canon, into your backlog, into your mainstay of video games? Tell us what is going on in the horror genre of video games for you.
Well, let me just kick this off. First of all, I am a big fat scaredy cat. I'm like, I make no qualms about that. I have accepted that.
Yep.
I'm okay with that. I don't like scary movies. I can play certain scary games when either the mood strikes or there's a specific purpose for it. The scariest thing that I've played, like on my own because I wanted to, probably have to be Phasmophobia. That's
Okay.
the only thing that I actually tried to play solo. And then I made the decision to never play that solo again unless it was for content.
Okay.
So yeah,
that's
I mean,
interesting.
outside of that, and like the Resident Evil games,
Resident
I've played
Evil
some things
counts.
here and there.
It does.
I mean,
So
obviously.
let's talk about
Well,
Resident
depending
Evil
on
then.
it.
Which ones?
Ooh.
Well, my favorite is RE4. I've played that one like 4 times.
Nice.
Did you play the remake?
I have that is on my list. It is on my list to play. I was planning on doing it last year, but I got caught up playing a different horror game instead, which was Dead Space Extraction.
Nice.
Okay.
Which has its moments. I'm not gonna lie, because it's a game that came out on the Wii originally, and I think it had like an Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 like Move version or whatever.
Awesome.
And that one is like, it's on the Wii, so you're like, oh, the graphics are probably not that good. Here's the thing. Good graphics does not mean it can't be scary.
Sure.
Like, let's get that out of the way.
Sure.
Just because a game does not look good doesn't mean it can't scare the ever-living crap out of you.
Yep.
I can 100% agree with that.
That's great. Extraction is actually kind of good with that because it does like because it guides you. It's a linear light gun game.
Yeah.
So it's like on rails for the most part. You have sections where you can explore a little bit, grab items in the environment, stuff like that, and look around for clues and like lore and stuff, which is really cool. But in terms of, it does get you immersed in the story. It's actually really good.
Right.
But
Nice.
yeah, that one had some scary moments in there as well, which is kind of funny because I've never played Dead Space. And you start blasting stuff and it's still moving. It's like, okay, this is different because you're used to stuff like RE where you blast it in the head a couple times and it stops moving.
Right.
So yeah, I think I've played other games, but I from the top of my head, those are the ones that at least may have the most impact for me.
Okay. Well, Denny, what about you, my dude?
I tend to play the occasional horror game outside of content, but most of it is definitely going to be with friends for content.
Sure.
So I don't get scared. Because I too am also a member of the Big Fat Scaredy Cat Club. But no, for
represent.
Me, yeah, that's it. But no, I definitely have grown up and played the Resident Evil series. Force also my favorite, but for me, the scariest one and the one that I've had to put away and play in broad daylight only has been not Village, sorry, but Resident Evil 7.
Ooh, I can understand that.
Biohazard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That game creeps me out on all sort of levels. I remember playing the demo and I'm like, I'm not playing this game. No way.
Yeah.
No way in hell. Like, you can't pay me enough to play this game. Then it went on sale, so I bought it. Games that really mess with me though are the visual novel games. So the Doki Doki Literature
Oh, that
Club.
one, yes.
I don't know if you guys ever played Cooking Companions. It is the funnest, cutest, diabolicalist, scariest.
All of the superlatives.
Like it starts off so nice. If you guys check out this game, it's a very independent game, but it's so much fun. Because like you and your friends go into this cabin to go camping for the weekend or some shit like that, and then you realize you didn't bring enough food.
Oh no.
Then you start talking to these vegetables that, well, they talk to you. But you run out of food, and then all of a sudden you find out you have some mystery meat. that you
What?
start feeding to your friends, and they slowly
Uh,
start dying, and you slowly start feeding your friends Mystery Me.
oh dear.
Um, yeah.
Wow.
And then there's like a locked basement, and then you go down the basement, and that's cooking companions.
So you're the villain.
Yeah, it's nuts.
That-
Like from what I remember, people will go out to search for food, but they never come back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you're basically feeding their corpse to the people who are still alive.
Jeez.
And then there's with one girl in the
Aw.
game. Yeah, and there's jump scares and all that. I have played it on stream, and so you will see some of the jumps. By the way, none of these games have actually made me jump. Only game that's ever made me jump out loud, I think, has been Devour.
Oh, well, those ones are.
Ooh.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
built on jump scares, so
Yeah,
I would hope
it's
that
all
that
jump
scared
scares.
you. Yeah.
But yeah, going back to Cooking Companions, there's one scene that's just like ingrained in my head. And remember, these are all just still images, right? It's a visual novel.
Yeah.
There's one girl there's a redhead girl, I forgot her name, but you become friends with people and you have like a friend meter, and everybody's friend meter goes up the more you interact with them. She starts like cutting people's legs and keeping them alive in the game.
Right.
And there's one scene where like the big friendly giant character is literally on the couch with like bloody bandages on where his legs used to be. And she's
Right.
like, "Look, I've got more meat for the rest of us." And like when you read it, like meat is in like a different font. It's a little bit bigger. So like yeah, exactly. That was my look. That was the look on my face. Like,
Jeez.
oh my god. But if you look at the game,
no.
it's so freaking cute. And the music's
Oh,
all cute
no.
and stuff. It's a trip, man.
So
Oh, that sounds like an absolute total trip.
when it comes to the horror genre in my canon, it's interesting. Like, I used to watch my uncle play scary games. I was probably way too young to be seeing this stuff, but I was also really intrigued by other people being in the driver's seat of a scary game. Perhaps that's why, there's something to streaming, knowing that people are watching you, or vice versa, you being the viewer and watching someone else get scared. There is this like social aspect to being scared or frightened together. And so I actually have quite a few games that come to mind with that sentiment. And one of those games is Dead Space. That first iteration of Dead Space was something that was new for me, at least. It used jump scares more creatively, I think. I think that the immersiveness of Dead Space was kind of ahead of its time in terms of having the HUD as a part of the gameplay rather than being a separate menu screen. Everything about it drew you into the game. That one was a big part of my canon. I kind of jumped the gun and said, what are some scary games? But I don't know if you would have classified some of the games that I'm looking at right here as horror per se.
Max, so you've never played the original Dead Space?
I have, but I haven't beaten it.
Yeah, no,
I
I'm
don't
in
even
that.
remember how far I got.
Yeah, I'm in that same boat. But I actually, so once I was finished Resident Evil 4. So the thing is, I play a lot of horror games with my dad. Like me and my dad, we've played a lot of these games together because like that's his genre. His games are Resident Evil, God of War, Call of Duty. So I wanted to introduce him to Dead Space, so I downloaded the remake. And kind of like what Rice was saying, there is a level of immersion which I really appreciate. I forgot how crazy some of those, how much the ambience really plays into how spooky that game can be.
Yeah.
It really messed with me. I remember playing it back in the day, and I was like, fresh out of school and stuff when that game came out. Probably only like had been working for a little while. But I'm playing this game on my Xbox or whatever on a freaking 26-inch TV without like crazy speakers, like just the TV speakers. And now I've come back to play that game later, and now we're playing it like on a home theater system on a much bigger TV. Like, goddamn, that's the way the game is meant to be played. Like, if you're playing that any other way, you're doing that game like a disservice, because the sound engineering in that game is top tier and really makes that game like a lot spookier than it should be.
Speaking of that, another game that was a really influential piece to me even diving into scary games, this goes to your point, Denny, of like atmosphere, is Alien Isolation.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
Alien Isolation was incredible. This one I actually was playing with Becca on stream, and we both had headphones in. We both experienced the ambience that you were talking about. While you do see the alien in some intense moments, like there are sequences where you're just walking through a corridor and you are clenching the whole time, bro. And like
You
you're
ever do the double back where you're like, no, I'm not going through this door yet. I'm not ready. No, not yet. Not yet.
you have a limited amount of supplies. You don't have weapons. You're hiding. You're just hiding. You're trying to get away, right?
I think you're
Yeah,
hiding.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think the only thing that you really use is the motion tracker.
Yes. So the element of not being able to defend yourself. And that also then brings me to Outlast. My very first experience with Outlast was crazy. I rage quit because I was too scared. I was way too scared. You don't have weapons in that. You can't fight back, and you are just running. You're just running away. This game also has jump scares. Atmosphere was crazy spooky. But I have a list here. I'm going to switch screens for the viewers here. And so I just searched up top horror video games of all time. And a lot of these are actually quite recent within this decade, I suppose, because the experiences before are perhaps a little retro and maybe not as scary as the ones that are on this list. And maybe you didn't categorize this as horror in your minds when you were thinking about it. Silent Hill 2 is up there. Dead Space, like we say, Biohazard, PT, which was a playable teaser released on the PlayStation 4. And this was actually to tease Silent Hills. It was a game that was in development with Norman Reedus as the front runner of the game, the protagonist. And man, people were really, really upset that game didn't turn into a thing. Like it didn't come into fruition.
Let's not forget, Kojima was helming that one.
Yeah, it was highly anticipated, and it's crazy that PT was really, like, it was at the forefront of people's minds. Like they even deemed that small experience as one of the scariest experiences that they've ever played.
I actually, as someone who is a big fat scaredy cat, we need to find a way to shorten that because I feel like we're going to use that phrase a lot. I am one of
big fat scaredy cat.
BFSC.
BFSC.
Right. We're just gonna call ourselves the Breakfast Club. You know what? I remember PT, and I wish it's one of the biggest regrets that I have that I never got to experience it firsthand. I really got caught up into the hype, but obviously I kind of put it off a little bit because I did not want to be that scared. But now, like, looking back and the fact that it's delisted and people who want to make a quick buck are still selling PS4s on like on your Craigslist and your personal classified sites and Facebook Marketplace. They're selling them for outrageous amounts of money just because it has PT installed on it still.
Right.
I think really speaks to just how amazing that demo was and what people for a taste of what they could expect if that game did come out. And just it's a shame that the business side let us lose such an experience.
Agreed.
It wasn't even the business side. Well, it was partially the business side, mostly because people be petty.
Oh yeah.
And like, let's be real, it's part of the reason why Kojima was ousted from Konami, right? Like apparently the president or whatever, the current president at the time, was very petty about Kojima having like all the spotlight, and was basically like almost had carte blanche.
Right.
So yeah, that's one of the reasons why we lost out on such an amazing, potentially amazing thing. So I did have the pleasure of actually playing PT. I don't know if you had the pleasure of playing PT as well, Rice.
I did.
But I was lucky enough to have a friend that owned a PlayStation 4 because I didn't own one at the time. He did, and he downloaded it, and I don't know if he still has it, but I was able to play it. I played through it multiple times because that's the whole point of it, and it gets freaky. I don't know if I don't know if I feel like I would classify it as straight up horror, I would probably classify it as kind of more of a it feels a bit more thrillery and like
Really?
uh kind of like mystery yeah, kind of more mystery horror more than
Is it more
anything because
suspenseful?
yeah, it is way more suspenseful. It has some really creepy imagery in it and some really there are some jump scary moments depending on like your playthrough. Um, but yeah, it's like the whole point of the playable teaser is that you're supposed to uncover you have to uncover all these clues and then it shows you like, oh, this is what you can look forward to. It's like it's this thing is teasing a new Silent Hill game.
Yeah. While
But it
while I
gets really
do
like creepy.
agree, there is that thriller aspect. Also because of like the storytelling. There are
Yeah.
I mean through these do you understand the concept and the mechanic of the game, Denny? Like have you actually like watched the playthroughs?
No. No, no, no.
So there is something incredibly scary about being stuck in a loop.
Mhm.
So imagine yourself waking up in a room and then you then open a door into this corridor, into this hallway that's basically an L shape. And that at the end of that L shape, there is a staircase going down. Once you enter into that door downstairs, you are back at that hallway. So as you progress and repeat going through this hallway a number of different times, there are certain aspects that you can inspect, and upon inspecting you will hear maybe like this audible storytelling, and there are little bits and pieces and clues like Max said that you uncover, and you are essentially like this mystery is unfolding before you. At the same time, you feel like you're being haunted by whatever thing you are uncovering at the same time. So I was actually incredibly terrified of this experience. But what was beautiful about this experience is that no matter how terrified you were, you wanted to find out what was going on. I mean, maybe it falls in the psychological thriller horror type genre because
Yeah.
it really does, like, it messes with your head. There's some really dark themes in there. I don't want to give away too much because Denny, I think that you should just watch a playthrough of it.
Yeah.
It's incredible,
Okay.
and develop some opinions and things about this because it is a little moment in gaming that was like, man, this could have gone somewhere and it didn't,
Yeah.
kind of thing. But for time's sake, we're gonna move on because we could talk about PT in one whole episode here. There are other games on this list where you can choose your own adventure. Mainly the Telltale games. The Walking Dead games in particular are on this
Yeah.
list, as well as Until Dawn. What does that say to you guys? Like what games do you think about when you hear Until Dawn, or what experiences with Until Dawn did you have?
Yeah, ironically, it actually makes me think more about
Anthology?
the dark anthology series,
Yeah.
which I've seen. I have not played them, but I've seen a lot of gameplay
Yeah.
Mhm.
of multiple games. And to their credit, despite the fact that it has a very and I don't know if it's, I think it's on purpose. It has a very B movie feel to it.
Sure.
It adds to the atmosphere and the suspense, and when stuff actually gets down, it's really scary. But the real scary part is, of course, human nature
Mhm.
and
Mm.
what people will go through, what people will do to get out of a situation that is, life threatening.
Yeah.
Because you're in a situation you don't know what to do, you don't know what's going on, and you're put in this position in a very closed space where you have to make these decisions either for yourself or for others.
Right. Right.
And of course, if you've played through the games before, you know that there are essentially multiple endings depending on how many people, like for example, how many people survive, or how far you get through the scenario and stuff like that. To me, it's like when I saw the gameplay and I saw like everything, I was like, you know what? I'm very happy that I saw this. I don't have to play.
Right? That's like what was that recent game that's kind of similar to that? Not maybe in story, but The Quarry?
The Quarry, yeah, absolutely.
The Quarry, yeah.
Yeah, I remember watching that a lot. I was like, man, I don't want to play this. I'll just watch it and say I've seen it so I can talk about it. Thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is
Yeah.
something about making choices and that impacting the story and the narrative and the gameplay. You don't want to make a quote unquote wrong choice that will get someone killed. There's even a sense of like responsibility to playing those games if you're in the driver's seat, you know, but also really fun as a social experience, like we were saying earlier. Okay, so some other ones on this list. Actually, the Last of Us series is on this list. While I understand why it would be, this is also something that would kind of fall under the human condition and human nature.
Yeah,
because the
100%.
the clickers and the virus, that kind of becomes an afterthought when you experience other humans and how dangerous we can be to each other. Any thoughts?
I think part two pretty much says it, honestly.
Yeah.
I think part two does a better job at exploring that aspect than the first game does.
Yeah,
Because the first game is a road trip through zombie land.
It's a long escort mission.
Yeah.
That might be a hot take. A lot of people, The Last of Us is very beloved to some people. And
don't get me wrong, it's a good game.
Oh,
and
sure.
I agree with you. It is a long escort mission because that is basically the whole point of the whole journey. It's just that it takes a really long time and you are not constantly moving forward because there are different biomes that you're in. So it doesn't feel like it's a long escort mission, despite the fact that it is.
Interesting. So like now I love how this conversation is now like, okay, well, is this a horror game, guys?
No, but it's not a horror game.
Yeah. So
I mean,
it might,
I feel like the fact that it's set post-apocalyptic and there is talk about the virus and all that stuff can maybe make it a horror game, but it's not like in the forefront. Like you said, it's more about the human experience and what happens when you start interacting with other people. It's kind of like what The Walking Dead almost did, I feel like.
Sure.
The whole post-apocalyptic.
So is that not classified as horror though, Max? So what let's operationally define horror then. Like, what do you deem as a horror game?
Were you scared to play that game, or were you engrossed so much that you had to continue and you wanted to play?
Interesting.
Well, with The Last of Us, I would say no. If that's the definition we're going with, no, not really. Anyway,
like I don't think Last of Us was meant to scare you.
Ah, man. Okay, so hold on. This is going to be an interesting talking point for anybody in the comments. And when you guys look up like the genre of horror, this is just the definition of horror here. An intense feeling of fear, shock, or disgust. So I would argue to say that, like, you know, some of these games do kind of give you that feeling of fear and disgust without necessarily, you know, scaring you with this out of body experience, paranormal kind of scary creature design, etc., etc.
So I agree with that definition, but I think it's the intention to disturb, frighten, or scare, right? So when I look at a game, and I'm gonna use the dumbest example ever, but if you take a look at a Resident Evil game, because that also has to do with zombies, right? The intention is to make you feel uncomfortable. Like the first few games, those tank style games, you would hear the zombie off screen going like or whatever, right? Like they were doing stuff to make you feel scared. Right? No, like that's the thing. They do that to make you feel scared. The way you
Minecraft.
Is it really? Man, I play Minecraft. Minecraft's a scary game too, actually. I'm not gonna lie. That game scares the crap out of me. No.
To be fair,
yeah. Sorry.
No, but like even like for example, you know, I know they cheated with loading screens by having the door open and all you have is just that black screen with a door opening. Things like that I feel like are meant to scare you. And like you said, like, you know, maybe the door opening is not a whole creature thing. If I look at Last of Us, I think it's more of an action adventure game.
Sure.
It's just with using a virus and a type of zombie or fictional creature as the backdrop, whereas again it is, like we said earlier, more about human experience.
Interesting. Any thoughts to add, Max?
So tried to look up the definition of at least the horror as a genre, but all it brought back is like basically that horror is divided into psychological and supernatural horror, which
Interesting.
I think when we think about horror today, we think less psychological horror. Well, depending on what you're watching or playing, and
Mhm.
more the supernatural stuff.
Yep.
So
Sure.
basically, anything that is foreign and creepy, and we don't understand it, that seems to be defined as horror.
Okay.
Which I get it because it's the unknown. Like,
Sure.
who knows what is what, like how did spores suddenly take over the human mind, or
Right.
how did the Umbrella Corp try to make a virus and then made zombies, you
Right.
know despite the fact that they were actually making bioweapons,
Yeah.
hence
Yeah.
the title.
No, yeah, I
So
definitely get what you're saying here. So that would kind
yeah.
of nullify some experiences in terms of action horror, which some people would still deem as horror, by the way. I think between the three of us, I do agree that like I was very excited to play Last of Us. I wasn't like shying away from it because I thought that I was going to be scared.
No, you wanted to know what happened next.
Right. And maybe that's a conversation on desensitization, but that's another episode.
We need to
So
write down all these episode ideas.
I
Like, we have a
really
list.
I know we have so many. We're gonna go back to this list here, and then maybe I'll gravitate towards some ones that are actually spooky in our sense. So this one is a really close one to me because Naomi and I played this on stream. To this day, have not finished this title, and that is Visage or Visage. And
Yay!
man, this scared the shit out of us. Like, it was so freaking hilarious for everyone else, but I know after stream, Naomi and we had to decompress somehow because it was just so stressful. Our blood pressure was up.
I will never play this game.
That game was really, really spooky. There is something about just being in a house that looks like a house that you would live in, and then being haunted by a ghost being chased around. So that was good. And I really, really liked the storytelling. Honestly, like, I want to go back and finish it. I am scared shitless about it, but I want to finish it because the stories were really incredibly told. Either of you guys play this one?
Nope.
No, but I saw you play it.
It was
okay living vicariously through you.
It was so bad. Like, Naomi and I were fighting because we were scared. We were I think, a number of people have seen the clip, but like, I was getting so annoyed and upset with Naomi at how she was acting while we were playing the game. And immediately in that moment, I was humbled. I almost jumped and fell out of my chair. I'll play the clip for anybody who wants to to see it, but that was incredibly scary. And then right next to it is the Mortuary Assistant. This
I've
one,
never even heard of that.
yeah,
You haven't?
No.
it's spooky too.
It's creepy.
Yeah,
It's very creepy. Yeah.
yeah.
I would if I were to say anything, that one is actually super creepy. More and so because it is because it's based on something that exists, right?
Sure.
It is a mortuary, and you have a mortician, and morticians obviously would have an assistant, and you have to do the nasty job of dissecting a person, right?
Yes.
But
That sounds fun.
the way they, because I've only seen the gameplay of that one as well, but the way it is done is kind of it's kind of like a let's just say escape room kind of gameplay, but I'm
Right.
not sure if that's correct, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of it has that kind of feel
Vibe.
to it,
Mhm.
and that vibe, and adding the creepiness to it as well, just adds up to the blood pressure. Like, watching it alone, like watching someone else play it made me like nervous, right?
Yeah.
So cool, very cool game. Not on my list to play. Not on my list to play because it. No. But I think there is a similar game to that.
Mhm.
I do not remember the name of that.
What was it on?
It is on PC. I do not remember the name of the game. Damn it, sorry. Got distracted because I did not remember the title. But that one is also really creepy. Because that takes place on a farm. You're like in the middle of nowhere. You're living with
Oh,
like your family, and you're trying to like get out. And I think it takes place either during World War One or something.
okay.
Damn it, I'd have to look it up. But yeah, that one also gives me the ick to
The
be
ick.
honest.
The ick.
Yeah, no, you know what it is?
Sorry.
When it's a scary game that is trying to like does the thing where you think a jump scare is coming and it never does, and you just have that unnerving sense of dread,
Yeah.
and it kind of never fades away until the jump scare comes up the moment you least expect,
Yes.
right? It's that thing that just like no, I don't like that.
Did you
Some games do that real good.
did you guys ever play the Condemned series?
No, I didn't.
No.
Okay. So Condemned was like I think a launch title for the Xbox 360, and it's like
Mhm.
it's a psychological thriller type game. You're basically like this FBI agent who gets framed for murder, and you go through this crazy psychological thing, but it's all like real shit.
Right.
Mhm.
And like, you know, the I think the biggest thing was like anything you can pick up, which is everything in the game, could be used as a weapon. So if it's a crowbar, if it's like the door of a locker, or like,
Oh, interesting.
yeah, like you could pick up anything and that was your weapon. So basically, instead of a first person shooter, it was like first person melee. Um,
Oh, okay.
it was really creepy too, because like I still remember there's this room with like filled with mannequins, and every time you turned away from the mannequins and you turned
Mannequins.
back, their formation would change, right? So you had to wait, keep
Uh,
turning back and forth till you got the right formation to get through the room. This game
Ooh.
oh,
was so messed up. And like it wasn't super scary like it is survival horror, psychological horror, but this is the one game that actually like gave me nightmares.
This is deemed as Xbox
wait,
360's
really?
scariest game.
There you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait, when did it come out?
93% of users and players liked this game. 9 out of 10. It came out in 2005, November
Yeah.
15th.
So I think it was a launch title almost, or very close to launch.
Wow.
Huh.
I
Yeah,
gotta
it was
see some
influenced-
gameplay.
It was influenced by things like Silence of the Lambs.
Right.
So you know, like those kind of movies, like the stuff they pull in there.
That's crazy.
It's so cool.
And there were more
and
titles?
Yeah, there's a sequel. I don't think the sequel did so well because it had this weird like alcohol mechanic where you had to like continuously. I'm not even kidding. You had to continuously drink alcohol to like numb yourself
Oh,
so that you
okay.
could actually like function
Oh.
through the game.
Got it.
But I think that was in the sequel. I don't think that was in the first game.
It has a Steam rating of 9 out of 10. That's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
IMDb gave it an 8.1. Wow, this
You
was
know
a
why
highly rated
Monolith-
game.
You know why Monolith sounds familiar? Because they also did the Fear series.
Oh, Fear.
Oh, that makes so much more sense.
Fear was spooky,
Yeah.
even though it was
Oh,
a
yeah.
shooter.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought that was a spooky game, man. Children,
Yeah.
ghost children, scare the shit out of me, bro.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of those. That's why I
Children
can't
is
watch The
scary.
Ring.
Yes.
Anything with children is scary. Wait, what?
Oh, have you played the Fear series?
No, I haven't.
I think it's the ending of the second game.
Oh my goodness.
Now I gotta look this up.
Now we
got
gotta fact check that. Okay, hold
Oh,
on.
That is okay.
This
that's
part may or
weird.
may not make the episode.
I don't know, dude.
Literally, okay. This part will not make the episode, so cut it here.
Oh,
my
no.
Yep.
No.
Oh,
No.
I remember that. And I was like, this is the most messed up thing I've seen in a video game.
No.
why the hell do
way.
people want a sequel to this?
They got a sequel to it.
Yeah, this is not making the episode.
Okay, yeah, that's not.
So
that's not
again,
great.
beyond messed up.
That's crazy.
How the hell did that get past? how did that get past the smell test?
That's great. That's crazy.
The
I'm done.
implication is too much. I'm
Right?
a
That's
Even
the
the
thing.
implication, yeah.
It's just
It's
That's-
insane.
That's crazy.
I'm sorry, I totally derailed this whole episode.
Oh my god. Okay, what do we
Oh
pick up
my
from there?
We just cut.
Oh man.
Oh
Okay,
my
well,
goodness.
you know what? Another game. You know, another game that really like spooked the crap out of me and that I tried myself was Amnesia: The
Which
Dark
one?
Descent.
Yes.
Specifically that one because I was watching so many people on YouTube play this game, and I had to play it for myself, and it still hit this whole mechanic of hiding, you know, and
Mhm.
trying not to be seen by the monsters. And the creature design was really, really creepy to me, man. Like it was really, really weird and out there. And I think
Yeah.
that deserves to be on my list at least. I do have a
Agreed.
question about Alan Wake. Do you guys consider that to be a horror?
I haven't
I
played
can
Alan
only
Wake.
speak to the first one because I think I played maybe the first couple chapters of that.
Okay.
I think that's also very action adventure-y.
Okay.
Not psychological horror.
I mean, at first I thought it could go kind of like The Shining because he's like up somewhere trying to write a story, if I'm not mistaken, in the 1st
Mhm.
Alan Wake game. It's more thriller than horror, though. I didn't feel spooked playing it, mainly
Yeah.
because I was running around with a flashlight, and the flashlight is what basically killed your enemies. So it's
Yeah.
like the second I saw one, they died.
Yeah.
Right.
I would agree with that. It was more mystery-esque
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
anything. I wanted to see a story unfold. I think that Alan Wake had some of the best storytelling. There's a lot of narration, and
Yeah.
I think when narration is done well, especially in voice acting, it's very engaging. Not everyone does it well, but I think the Alan Wake series does it justice. Let's talk about, let's see here. My sister played the Evil Within games on stream, and this was a shooter. I think it was spooky enough. Like I would maybe liken the Evil Within to Dead Space, in that like the creature design and the kind of
It's more like
body
survival
horror.
horror.
Yeah, it was that.
Yeah.
It was pretty shooter-esque. Okay,
That one
okay.
I feel like I could probably play because it has that RE feel kind of to it.
Max, did you ever play
Yes.
Bloodborne?
Wait,
No.
what?
No,
Bloodborne.
I've played the Dark Souls series. That is, I think, outside of that and Sekiro,
Yeah.
those are the only two ones I've not played.
I highly recommend Bloodborne. I don't know if people would argue that this is like a scary experience, but I would still put it on the list because, I mean, man, it's meant to be in the horror world.
Yeah.
Some of these creatures, and like, yes, it's a Souls like, so you are going to struggle through the game, and it doesn't necessarily give you the same experience that we're talking about here, where you're just like afraid to play. But I think just the general feel and what it was trying to do, I think it does deserve to be in the horror genre.
I can't argue with you there because I haven't played it, so I'll have to agree with you on that one until I actually get my hands on it.
Mhm.
But who knows when that will be, because Sony will not freaking remake that game.
No,
It's okay. The PS4 version, I'm sure, is still good. I haven't played it in a while. I have played Bloodborne, and
Nah, people are
As-
like, nah, this needs to be 60 frames per second.
yeah, no, that I agree with. I think it was a 30 frames per second game, but I can agree the setting is very
It's Victorian.
It's Victorian horror.
Victorian.
yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
it does
Victorian
feel
horror.
spooky in that sense. So yeah, I can kind of see where Rice was going with that. I can second that. I know we've mentioned Resident Evil 4 quite a bit, but I'm curious if anyone's kind of played like Alone in the Dark,
Alone in the Dark.
Which
no.
one?
like the original Alone in the Darks, not the remakes, but
Like the one from the 90s?
Yeah, I know they're not spooky, but I just want to kind of give them flowers because they kind of inspired Resident Evil.
Yeah.
And you know the fact
Yeah.
that I think the first one you're trying to escape like a haunted mansion, which is kind of the similar one to like Resident Evil 1 where you're trying to escape that mansion as well.
Yeah, well, you're invited to the mansion and you're trying
Mhm.
to solve the reason why you were invited in the first place, and also at the same time trying to escape the horrors of 90s 3D, which I'm not
Escape the
gonna
horror.
lie, those polygons, they do be pointy and they do be scary. Like, did you see some of
Facts.
those wolves?
No, no, horrible graphically, but I just want to give it a toss up
No,
or a
but
toss out.
yeah, no, but seriously, it is one of the reasons why we do have stuff like Resident Evil and Silent Hill and stuff like that. And for its time, at least, it was scary. You're put in a situation that you don't normally get put into in video games normally. And that was like one of the first instances of being trapped in one single location and having a thing chase you. I think the only thing that comes even remotely close to that, you'd have to go back to the 80s, and I want to say, and I this is not a horror game, but Adventure has a similar feel to that, because in Adventure you're trying to escape a dungeon, and you have like screens where sometimes the lights are out and there's something chasing you, like beyond the screens and from outside the screens and stuff like that, which is a very impressive for an Atari 2600 game. It's not super scary, but you can see that kind of DNA come back in Alone in the Dark, and they
Right.
do a way better job of it in Alone in the Dark, and that then like pushes that genre forward, or actually creates that genre.
There's a franchise actually that I thought about right now, and it's like one that I can't stand playing because it's just you get a little too up close and personal with ghosts. Is the Fatal
Is
Frame
it Fatal
series?
Frame?
It is Fatal
Oh my
Frame.
god!
They did make one for
No,
the Wii U,
they
but
did.
that game
I
is
played it.
oh my god. Rice, have you played Fatal Frame?
I have not. Yeah.
Did you know the concept of
Really?
Fatal Frame?
Oh, let's talk about it for our viewers here.
Yeah, like basically you're navigating areas filled with ghosts. The only way you can fight them is like, or defeat them is by taking pictures of them. So the main thing is you literally have to get the camera open, you're zoomed in, and they have to be like right in your face. Like they come up to you. So
Jeez.
it is
Mhm.
like even in video games, you have a bubble, like a personal bubble, I feel.
Right.
And like they get in my
Yeah.
bubble so much, it's just beyond uncomfortable. Because I think you can't even see the ghosts until you pull up your camera lens, right?
So
Jeez.
you see like a little bit of a spectral shadow thingy.
Right.
You do need the camera to actually see them and then
Mhm.
attack them.
Yeah.
So the camera is a camera obscura, and it comes with like these different lenses, and these different lenses have different abilities that you
Right.
can level it up. You get like, once you defeat a ghost, you get points, and put the points into leveling up certain aspects of a particular lens. So every lens has different abilities and stuff that you can do with, like stun a ghost,
Okay.
or make them go slower, or something like that, and other stuff. Because some ghosts, you take a picture of them, they evaporate. Then you have boss battles. This thing has boss battles where you have to
Wow.
take multiple pictures of the horrifying ghost before it takes enough damage to stun it. And then you
Yep.
have to deplete its HP.
Yep.
And the one on the Wii U is the first one that I've ever played from start to finish.
That's so
I
interesting.
actually
Yeah.
did that during my like last year's September stream, or maybe
Wow.
the year
Right.
before. I don't remember. And yeah, it was. Yeah. I'm very glad I did it for content, because I think at a certain point I would have stopped.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
If it
no.
wasn't for
It's
content,
a
I
crazy
would
game.
have stopped, because I beat the game.
Mhm.
Apparently it also has multiple endings, and on and that very specific game, I think it's Fatal Frame Maiden of the
Yep.
Blackwater.
Yep.
And because it was at the time a Wii U exclusive,
Hmm.
it also had Nintendo costumes in it.
Did it
Now they
really?
recently
Oh.
released, yeah, they recently re-released this game on all
Hmm.
platforms, but it doesn't, of course, have the Nintendo costume. Even in the Switch version, it doesn't have the
Yeah.
Nintendo costumes anymore.
Right.
The camera thing is really cool, because you have to actually physically hold the Wii U up, because that is your camera obscura, and you have to aim it. You do have a control screen control scheme where you don't have to do that, but it's way more immersive when you use the controller. That's one of the reasons why it's kind of disappointing that that never really
Yeah.
worked out, because I would have loved to have a sequel to that.
Okay, guys. So before we kind of round this episode off, I do have some, I guess, honorable mentions that didn't really make the way we categorize horror games, or ones that actually scared us, but this will probably make other people's lists. One of those honorable mentions is Little Nightmares 1 and 2. Another game franchise is actually BioShock, Death Stranding, Soma. I've never played Soma. I heard that game was very, very scary.
It has its moments, yeah. It'll also make you question your humanity.
In terms of the jump scare horror series,
No, because of the story.
no, sorry, I have another honorable mention.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. The FNAF series, Five Nights at Freddy's, of course, that is going to make it for a lot of different people. And one last one is Penumbra, which I didn't play, but that one made a lot of different people's lists. Anything to add to that, guys? Or are you just gonna claim
Dino Crisis one?
Dino Crisis? Or like Turok?
Would you class
Turok.
No, Turok is just a first-person shooter saying dino in a dinosaur world. But
I mean, it's Resident Evil with dinosaurs.
Dino Crisis, yeah.
Yeah, that, I mean,
does it?
That's, you know, you're clenching, your butthole's clenching that, you know, in that game. So
that's like saying, is Jurassic Park a horror movie?
Isn't it though?
Does it scare you?
No.
Right, so like there are different categories. This is all to say that horror encompasses so many different subgenres, and I think different things scare different people. But with that, I will say this will be our episode for Halloween. So thank you to everybody who's tuned in, who's listened, who's checked out the video. Max, where can everybody find you, my friend?
Instagram, where I post content here and there. You can find me on YouTube as well, where you'll find my VODs of my streams that I do on Twitch. I've been trying to work on trying to get a multi-stream going on, but that is a little bit of a challenge. So people can find me there as well. I'm also on TikTok, but not as much as I am on Instagram or on YouTube.
Denny, where can people find you?
Where can't you find me? I'm everywhere. I'm on milk cartons these days too.
Milk cartons?
Yeah, man.
Send the link, bro. I want a milk carton with your face on it. Anyway.
But yeah, you can find me on Twitch, Instagram, YouTube, /Denerican Gaming. You'll find all the links there. So come by, say hi, like a video. I don't know, whatever.
As for myself, I'm currently working on turning a lot of the stream content that I do on Twitch into static content onto my socials. A lot of them being conversations between these wonderful individuals as well as others. We're all about community here, and we just want to keep, you know, collaborating and uplifting each other in these spaces. Our spaces deserve to be more diverse and more inclusive. Our spaces deserve to be more inclusive, more diverse, and I think that they will be healthier for it. Anyways, my name is Rice Boy. You can find me on my Linktree /Rice BOYYY TV. And that is it for this episode. We will see you next time. Peace.
Later.
Later.